gentlemen, we are glad you're here. We are going to get right into it. We are super excited that you're here. Make sure that, as Durango tells me every time, Adam, you got to tell them to make sure that they like and subscribe and to smash that notification button. Is that still right? Are we still smashing?
Our hashtag still trending. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, hashtag smash
he says
that.
Yes.
Okay, good, perfect. Aaron, always good to see you. I like your Notre Dame-ish colored shirt you have on today.
Yeah, it's not Notre Dame-ish, but I appreciate that. It's the first.
It's
time.
green and blue.
Yeah,
cut me some slack.
Like I have wore like a polo that's not Indie Roof branded in a long time. I feel like, but
yeah.
Well,
I'm glad to carry the banner with pride here.
There you go. You're sticking with the script.
Yeah, awesome. And we're excited with another guest joining us here. You'll notice that whenever we have guests in, we try to make sure that there's some level of parallelity. I just made that word up. No, but there's some level of cohesion between what their business is and what our businesses are. And today we've got an interesting guest here with us. Does a lot in the real estate sector and some other categories. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Start giving us a little bit about your background.
Sure. My name is Remington Ramsey. I own a magazine that, unless you're in real estate, you probably haven't heard of. It's a trade publication called Real Producers. Started that back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And
why did you start that? Can we?
Well, if we're gonna go,
can I start asking questions already? Or
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, so if we go all the way back to the beginning, it was Cutco knives. You guys have any Cutco knives? Did you sell any Cutco knives?
No, but they're at every roofing convention.
They are,
ever.
Yeah. So Cutco recruits more kids than the Army. That's a fact.
Are you serious?
Really?
Yeah.
I
so
did not
it's
know
a huge
that.
recruiting company.
Huh.
And the thing is, typically people's experience is you sell for a summer to mom and dad, aunt and uncle, and then you quit. So for those I was there for 10 years. So for those of us who stuck around, it was a good living. It was a lot of fun. I actually thought I was going to be a Cutco lifer. And I got into a specialty division called Cutco Closing Gifts, where literally all we did was sell knives to realtors and engrave their information on the knife to give as a closing gift. And so, typically realtors are given like gift baskets, gift cards, stuff like that. That's like consumable. So to have like a really good, I mean, Cutco's really is the nicest knife thing.
Okay, so that's good to hear from the inside. Like they are really nice knives.
Oh, they're really good. Okay. They're the best.
Okay.
They're American made in New York.
We're going to bleep this part out unless you pay us money.
Yeah. No, I mean, I still have I have family members that still work there, friends, great company. And so I originally started the magazine, long story short, to sell more knives. Okay. I was going to the trade shows that you were talking about. I was buying donuts and going to, lunch and learns. And it was frustrating to me to spend so much money and not get the return I thought I should get for the money I was spending on the marketing, because there's 10,000 realtors in Indy. At the time, there was 6,000 realtors in Indy.
Yeah.
And half of them will sell one or less homes.
Really?
Yep. So I'd be doing all these presentations and I couldn't tell the caliber of the realtor that was sitting in front of me. And there's nothing wrong with someone who sells one or less homes while they're trying to figure it out, but they cannot purchase.
It's not sustainable.
They can't, they can't afford. So we're kind of all just wasting our time. So to figure out a program that actually reaches out not only to all the real estate companies and sorts them by volume and then brings them into you was something that was a pretty easy concept to sell to vendors. And the magazine itself, the content is about the realtors, and realtors love reading about themselves and seeing themselves in print, and so everyone wins. And that was what I started in 2015.
That's crazy to me that your product was that product specifically, Cutco, was so closely related to the realty field that's where the magazine came from.
Well, people wouldn't think about it.
Super smart. I wouldn't have put the two together.
Yeah, I mean, when you're sitting there with like title companies and roofing companies and service companies to realtors, and you're the knife guy, it didn't really make sense,
right? Until
you built that brand as the number one closing gift in the city or in the country, and so this would have been 5 or 6 years ago, but we prided ourselves as being the number one closing gift because there's no one else doing it. I mean, your number one competitor was flowers and gift cards,
right?
So yeah, it was really lucrative, and for Cutco. For me, it was the right fit, and I honestly thought I was going to sell it the rest of my life. And I kept going to these realtor functions, real estate functions, and they kept trying to recruit me, and I just had no desire. But then I realized there's a quote: "How do you get rich in a gold rush? You sell the shovels." And so instead of instead of actually being a realtor and doing what everyone else is doing, I was just trying to figure out more products and services that I could provide the number one trade organization in the world, which is realtors.
I'm a marketing guy, and the fact that you started a magazine to market your services, like, to me, is just amazing, man.
Yeah.
That is totally awesome. You're like, you know what? How do I get in front of these people? I want to talk to more realtors. Let me start a magazine here to do that. Like, that's just amazing. So, props on that.
And I can't take credit for everything we put in the magazine and all that, because what I did was, and what I continued, this was the number one thing I feel like most people miss when they try to come up with something, is they have an ego and they get pride about what they want to accomplish, and so they just try to do it based on their own like expertise. And I wasn't an expert at printing or publishing or anything like that. So what I did was I went to 50 real estate agents that I believed in what they had to tell me and said, hey, if I did this, what would you want to read about? Now, half of them told me not to do it, like straight up, like this is not going to work. And the other half like felt bad for me, but still answered the questions. Like, no one really thought that a print magazine would work to start in 2015. Now, flash forward to 2023, print's actually making a big comeback. Like, there's niche magazines are a big thing right now. So it doesn't matter. Like, our content, regardless of if print is big or print is not big, will never affect us, because really what matters is, what are you printing? Like, do people want to read it? And is that your only medium that you're sending it to them by? And that's why being on the cover of a magazine will never not be cool.
Yeah. That's like super fascinating to me. Normally we have someone in here, and it's not because they're not fascinating, but I'm already 7 questions in, but this is super intriguing to me on how. So let me ask you this. So this magazine, how many copies are you putting out in circulation right now?
So in Indianapolis, which is our longest standing franchise, we have, it still just goes to 500. So there's 10,000 realtors, the top 500 agents based on the volume from the year before. So anyone who sells 10 million or more gets the magazine based on, earning it.
Gotcha.
And then if they have teams, like, their teams get it as well. And then we have social events that we do once a quarter, where we get everyone involved, like anyone who was featured and all the sponsors, and we throw a party.
Yeah. And since then, so it started in Indianapolis. Since then, though, this has branched out over the country.
Yep. So we're in 130 markets now, nationwide. So if you fly into any major city, we've got 1 or 2 in those major cities. Indianapolis is, like, size-wise, it's not always what determines how many magazines we can fit. It's really like determining based on like the realtors themselves.
Yeah.
So if you like go to the Twin Cities, for instance, like you've got St. Paul and Minneapolis, both very big cities that could sustain a magazine, but none of the realtors we found out really care to say that they're a St. Paul realtor. Like, they either want to be known as a Twin Cities realtor or a Minneapolis realtor. So we just have one magazine there. So that's kind of what determines where we put them. But we're 130 deep, and we've got about 70 to go.
Where are you sourcing your content from? Like, are you the chief editor, or like who's picking what material is actually going in the magazine?
Well, if you look at like each individual like market, we kind of let the franchise owner determine who's going to be their staff.
Oh, okay.
So there's 129 other Remingtons out there that are determining like who. So my dad is actually my editor. He's one of the best. He's way overqualified to be doing it, but super good at it. Writes all the stories and everything like that. And
it's good to know people.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be related to people.
Yeah. I would guess you've known him for a long time.
I have my whole life. Actually.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
What a coincidence.
But yeah, so we let them, and then internally we have Into Publishing is actually who prints our magazines. So they print them in Dallas and Wilmington, and we ship them all over.
Now, do you have, so you give out a copy to the top 500? Do other people purchase the magazine?
Yeah, I mean, early on, like, everyone wanted it, and so I tried to do my best to, like, we didn't make any money off it. I just charged a premium to like buy it. But it just got to the point where we kind of price ourselves out of people asking anymore, because that's not really who we're after. I mean, the point of it, like, as an advertiser, like, so, if you take a mortgage company, a roofing company, for instance, like, what they care about is not how many realtors they can get in front of, is getting in front of, like what we talked about before, the right realtor.
Right.
Because you could spend all your dollars for a billboard and get all the wrong calls.
Right.
Or you can get the realtors who are the movers and shakers. And not only that, but for some service industries, it's not just getting the realtors that when you could go and market to the consumer and sell, in this case, one roof, one job.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the realtor who's doing 40 to 50 of these, and now you've gotten their whole sphere. Not only that, they're some of the best referral sources that you have. Like someone's moving in from a relocation, they call the realtor on a regular basis to see who they use, where should I go eat, where do I get my haircut, all those kinds of things. And the realtor loves that because they're usually the first time they're meeting this client, so they need to stay in front of them to get those referrals and to sell that house again.
Yeah, from a home services company, like it makes sense to me. I can't remember, but I work with a lot of realtors, as you know, and somebody referred me to you, or somebody referred you to me. I don't remember, but we met and we talked about advertising in your magazine.
Hold on. Jake is who did it. Jake Adams.
Yeah.
I think is who connected us.
Okay.
Do you remember Jake? He's actually the one that sat
did.
down with you.
Yes, he's the one. I met him right over here at the Starbucks.
Yeah,
Now that I'm
and it wasn't the right time, and then you came back. I got a funny story about Jake, but keep going.
Yeah, no, that's right. Because he came and I was like, yeah, I don't know, because I was just kind of getting started or whatever. But I think he had two. That's what it was. He had two of my realtors that he reached out to, like, hey, do you know any roofers? We're looking for a roofer. And two of them referred me in. Because like I said, I worked with a ton of realtors, and then I ended up calling you back a few months later and decided, print's scary when you're a company, you're like, hey, I don't know, how do I track this? What do I do? And I'll tell you what got me about you guys is not only is the print and you're in this magazine to the top realtors, but you also get to go to events and meet them and talk to them face to face a couple times a year.
Actually develop the relationship.
Exactly. And so we ended up developing a whole system for realtors where it's not just, hey, call us when you have a problem, but like, hey, let me help you avoid problems by doing pre-listing inspections and stuff. So all of that made absolute sense for us. And so I think we've been with you guys, like, is this our second year?
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah. So
that concept of tracking is, as when I first got into it 8 years ago, I sold on a concept. I didn't even have a sample. I was walking around with like a Kroger magazine that,
this is what we're going to do.
This is kind of what it's going to look like, but it's not going to be a dog on the cover. So, but then as I got into it, when you build a long term, I mean, when you're in year 8 and you're signing 1, 2, and 3 year contracts, that's a lot of renewal conversations. And so your initial conversation, you're talking about how the fact that you're not going to be able to track this. This is not something, and when you're making a buying decision, it's really hard to track ROI on a buying decision. So I'll give you an example. Like I drink a lot of Coca. We talked about fitness in the pre-show. I drank a lot of Coca-Cola when I was in college, like a ton of Coke. More than I like to admit. And then when I hit my mid-20s, like it was the number one reason why I was just like suffering, like I was gaining weight. So I just stopped drinking it. But occasionally I'll still have one, right? Like I always eat it with pizza. So when I have pizza,
total full splurge.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
don't you be putting pizza down.
No, it's my favorite day of the month or week or whatever. So, but occasionally I'll just have a Coca-Cola. Occasionally I'll just break down. And I wonder what goes into making me have that decision. Is it because on my drive into work, there was a billboard. Maybe I saw a commercial. Maybe someone in the break room popped open. I heard the sound. Maybe I smelled it. And what it is a bunch of different things coming together that finally break you down to make that decision. And so when we talk to people about the ad in the magazine, I let them know up front, no, don't even put your phone number in the ad, because no one's going to look at the ad and call you. This is a branding opportunity. Like, and I'm being a little facetious, like sometimes people will go to the ad to find your number, but for the most part, what they need to do is they need to see Indie Roof's brand. They need to see the concepts and what you're pushing on a regular basis through your trucks, through your ad and magazines, through a Facebook post, through group posts inside neighborhood posting. They need to see people walking around with those logoed shirts, and slowly, because not everyone today needs their roof fixed or needs a new roof. But when they are ready to make that decision, you have for 2 years been in front of them to where there's no other option for them.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have. I mean, that's the challenge I have on a daily basis, explaining to people, like, and a lot of people went to school for marketing. So, but they don't teach you that in marketing. Yeah. They teach you ROI and click to, how much can you make on one click and that kind of stuff. And it's just not that they're not teaching the right things for people to get the true ROI.
Yeah,
that's a great way to explain that. There's a reason you're not reaching for a can of RC. Yeah, with that Pepsi, and it's
even the sound
triggers.
Associated with it is not like, oh, it's an RC Cola. No, it's Coke.
Yeah,
we talked about that. We had a sales and marketing podcast, and we talked about that as a newer company when you're brand new. like you really do have to focus on the dollars being spent for lead generation. But brand is massively important to, once you start getting comfortable, start building out your brands so that it is the recognized brand around. And so you have to find the pivot point of when you go, hey, we need to really start doing this. I mean, you should be doing it as early as possible, but I understand some of that branding is a lot of money. And when you're a brand new company or an early company, it's hard to spend, X number of dollars on something that you can't track. But as you grow, and if you want to continue to grow and become the brand known around the city or the state or wherever you're at, you have to have branding. So I agree with everything that you're saying 100%. It's how many touch points until somebody buys, and that's just another touch point.
Well, not only that, and when you think about growing a business, sometimes people just think more, better, eat, and then they just if you can track back more revenue, then it was successful. And that's not always true. Like sometimes, I'm sure you guys have fired clients. I've fired clients. Sometimes it's about working the way you want to work. So if you find an advertising medium that you enjoy working with the people that are running it, you enjoy the results. And it actually, like in this case, if you look at 500 realtors, there's no way even your company could cater 500 realtors right now. It's impossible. It takes a village in that case. I mean, even one realtor who has 10 realtors under them on a team and they're catering, doing 150 deals. I mean, you multiply that by, 499 others. So sometimes going into a program and saying, hey, listen, this gives you the opportunity to build your brand the way you want to and get the clients that you want to and turn away the ones that you don't. And you can stay the size you want. You can work with the realtors you want. You can work with the people you want, is a lot better for the mindset of the company that you're dealing with.
No, I 100% agree. And especially if, not to make this about roofing, but especially if they're doing, the biggest issue that we have with realtors is training them to call us before there's a problem. It takes 10 seconds for them to hit us and say, hey, about to list this house, go check it out. Because the roof's going to get called out, right? They're going to say, hey, have somebody check out the roof during the inspection. Almost always happens. And then you're stuck, all the stuff. And I won't get into the whole pitch, but it's important that they call us beforehand. And the ones that do that, kill it. But there's a lot of houses to look at because some have problems, some don't. But if they're a top 500 realtor, you know what I mean? They're doing a lot of pre-listing inspections, or even on the buying side, we look at them for the, the buying agents. And so, 100%. There's no way that we could do that with every single one. I don't remember where I was going with this. Help me out here, Adam. It's on to you.
Well, it's just working with the realtors you want to work with. The ones that actually will do the pre-inspection.
Yes. Thank you.
Do you find that it's the caliber of realtor? Is it a certain caliber of realtor or caliber of home where they're actually consistent in sitting? Is it a certain price point?
No, it's not a price point. I'll tell you who kind of made the deal click for me was Kelly Huff from FC Tucker. She used to call me, and back then I was just like, hey, call me if you have a problem. And then I was always hustling to try to get the deal closed, right? Because let's face it, realtors or sales reps, they want to help people, but they want their paycheck too, right? And so when you have a roof problem and then you got to deal with all of this and you got to have insurance come out and you got all this different stuff, it's just a lot in a 2 or 3 week period. And sometimes a lot of that stuff gets pushed. So Kelly started hitting me up and just going, hey, I don't know if there's a problem or not, but hopefully there is, because this roof looks like shit. She would text me, Operation Shitty Roof. Go check this out, see if we can get a new one. And I'd go out there and look. And in Indiana, there's been so many storms over the last 10 years. Sure. So if the roof's 5 years old, it's probably been hit by 3 storms. You know what I mean? So most of these we went to, we would find storm damage that would have came up anyway. But by doing that, it was preventatory, but she got to list the house for more. And so she was smart about it because she was getting more money for her clients, which in turn is more money for her.
And see, I hear those stories, and that's exactly what you want to put in the ad. Yeah. Because that's the kind of realtor you want, and that's the kind of interaction you want from start to finish. That's the kind of testimonial and marketing campaign that I would build around.
Yeah.
Showing folks where other people have been successful. And that's, I think, the biggest key, regardless of what product, when you're talking about setting this magazine up and everything and really getting people to understand the vision of what it could be is key. And same thing in what you did when you really started tagging in with realtors and the pre-listing inspections and all those kinds of things. It's getting them to understand clearly the why behind why this is significant.
Yeah.
And which is a great book, by the way. If no one's ever read it, Start With Why, Simon Sinek. And a lot of people have read that book, but 2 perfect examples of how that can help your business flourish.
Yeah.
Well, we're 18 minutes in, and we finally have got an answer to the first question that I asked. No, keep going. Give us a little bit more on your background, Remington.
So I don't know where I stopped, but knives, that was my first real job. I mean, I grew up mowing lawns. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday.
So you've been around blades your whole professional career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sharp things. No, I mean, so I write a lot now. I read and I write a lot more than I did even when I was in college, and I really enjoy it. And I'll write often about this concept of when I was growing up, mowing lawns was my first. I was an entrepreneur. Obviously, I was trying to build that so I could buy more basketball cards. There was a basketball. I lived in Muncie, and there was for those of you from Muncie who are listening, around Ball State, Jackson and Tillotson, the main intersection there. I lived behind that speedway. Everyone remembers the house with the lions. That was my aunt and uncle. And there was a card shop, a basketball card shop, and I would go. And every time I'd get enough money to get a new pack, I'd immediately go over there. I wasn't great at building the business early on. So, but I often think about the toughest parts of your day, even when I was selling knives and now running a publishing company. I'll be driving home on a tough day, and I'll look and I'll see some guy mowing a yard, or like a landscaping company mowing. I'd be like, I could do that. I could drop everything right now and just mow you.
Let it all go and just get out there, me and the lawnmower. Yeah.
Because everyone thinks about the toughest part. You think sometimes you can only in your head think about the toughest part of your day. And when you're thinking about that, you're not thinking about the landscaper who's really struggling to keep up with gas prices and all the issues that you have. It's truly a grass is greener situation.
Right.
But I went from mowing lawns to knives to running the magazine, and now since then I've got my hand in a few different businesses. I really enjoy real estate and all the things it has to offer, with rental properties and growing wealth that way. But most recently created a sports bar. And there was a Bricks franchise in Fishers, downtown Fishers, right by the mayor's office, that ran for 2 years and then went under. Mm-hmm. And then a new Bricks franchise came in and ran it for 2 years, and then that went under. And our office where I work typically is in downtown Fishers, and there's 5 or 6 walking distance restaurants, and that was one of them. So my business partner, flash forward to today, we would walk past that and be like, man, we would hope they put something really cool in there, hopefully a third Bricks comes in here so we can eat our pizza and salads. And ultimately what I think really hurt people in that area is the parking. Fishers people aren't used to parking in garages. It's not downtown. The entire north side, they just don't like parking in garages. So they just literally won't do that thing if they have to park in a garage. So, but Bricks would close at 9. There was a lot of things that I think contributed to them not being successful. And we're like, if we put a nightlife, I would be out in Fishers, there was no place to watch Monday Night Football. Everything closes at 9 or 10.
Isn't that so weird that, not to stop for too long on this, but there's a restaurant not far, literally right in between where he and I live, in between our houses. Great little family restaurant. They're closed for Sunday night and Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are missing the hugest opportunity from a revenue perspective.
They gotta have or suburb thing or what?
But as a family restaurant, you got to have days off. I think if they're running it the whole time,
pick a friggin' Tuesday, not Monday Night Football. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe they had it open and their numbers.
Well, let's see how it works. So evidently this changed.
Well, so we're cheating though, because we are a sports bar. We have to be open for those. But
okay.
I would be out for Sunday night or Monday Night Football and have to go home at halftime, and that's just who wants to do that. It's the whole reason you got out. I think Monday is typically on the weekend. The reason why even in small towns, Monday is the day they choose to just be closed.
Yeah.
Is because just revenue numbers as a typical restaurant are just mostly down on Mondays. And if you're going to do something like that, you want to pick a day where people are used to it, even though they hate it. But yeah, we decided to put something that had nightlife. And so we have bands playing on the weekends, even on just sunny days in the middle of the day, we have brunch.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it really became this community culture that it's destination now. Like I last week I realized like we hit it big in our own heads when there was a bachelorette party or a birthday party, and they had those birthday crowns, and a bunch of girls in their 30s, chose Parks Place Pub to go for their birthday. And for me, I was like, that's cool, because typically when I was growing up, Broad Ripple downtown, there's certain areas where you go so you can go bar hopping or, and Fisher's was just not that, at least in that area. The district is pretty cool. But to have a place, there's really not a place to go bar hopping. So if you're going to Parks Place Pub, you're either taking an Uber somewhere else or you're staying there. So to have that environment, it was pretty cool.
You guys have a patio, right?
We got a patio. Yeah, we spent all of our profits in year one to create that patio. But it's been worth it. Like, it is really fun atmosphere.
We pick. I think that was smart. Like, we pick restaurants based off patios sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, who's got outdoor patio we can go to?
And then the number two thing is music.
The number two thing is music. Who's got music going on?
Absolutely.
So
that's a whole other scene. I don't manage it. Our other operating partner does that. But dealing with bands and finding the right ones, and then paying attention to the clientele, if they like the bands, how often you have the bands, it's a whole business in itself.
Not only that, I feel like it's kind of almost reverse too when you start having bands, because that band is going to bring a following as well. So who do you want? Who do you want in your place on a regular basis too?
Yeah. Sometimes, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they bring the wrong crowd. So like having and knowing, is it worth paying this band more, knowing that they're going to bring a bigger crowd? Like, yeah. Bigger crowd of bikers into the middle of Fishers. We've done poker runs for a biker. No, it's not a biker gang, but they ride from Harley.
Yeah, they go from spot to spot. They do those
hey, pal, it's a motorcycle club. First of all, no,
Adam was going to wear his cut today, but decided against it.
Yeah,
my Indy Roof branded cut.
Is that the thing? A cut?
I think that's what they call it, right?
You sounded pretty confident about it. Don't try to pack pedal now.
I watched Sons of Anarchy 15 years ago, you know what I mean?
That's so funny.
You seem like a guy who rides a motorcycle.
I had a crotch rocket back in the day when I was like 21, an old Gixxer.
I'm glad you're still here.
And then thanks, man, because I did some shit where I probably shouldn't have been. And then as I got older, I got a Honda Shadow, a cruiser, and then I was like, this is way more comfortable than being like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I cruised that for a while, but then I think when I had my second or third kid, I sold it. It just didn't get used very much. We were busy. We got kids, all of that good stuff. So now I got four-wheelers, and kids ride four-wheelers with me.
Yeah. That's pretty fun. What? Let's get on that. What are some of the things that you do for fun?
Well, I'm getting married in two weeks.
So. Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, well, let's say the wedding will be fun. Like building up to the wedding is not fun. Like let's be honest,
I'm ready
that's
for
stressful.
It to be here. Yeah, catering, phone calls, and all that. But so all of my extra energy is going into that right now. But we've got a lot of family in the area, and boating. A big water guy. If there's water, I'm there. Beach, lake, it doesn't matter. Pond,
ski, wakeboard.
Yep.
Wake surf. What do you do?
I slalom.
Okay.
And I get injured every year.
Do you get up on a slalom, or do you have to kick off?
No, I get up on it, but so I started working out. We were talking again about working out. You did that 75 hard, and I did what I call the trash can diet. I don't know that this is a sanctioned diet. In fact, it shouldn't be, because I did a trash can diet.
I'm interested. Tell me more.
So I did this trash can diet, and I did it all the way until, and I kid you not, it came to a head on Thanksgiving Day, and I hosted Thanksgiving at my house for both sides of the family. So there's a bunch of people at my house. And
meaning like your side and your fiance's side?
Side, okay, gotcha. And everybody, like 30, 40 people. And I cooked 2 birds. I fry one, which is phenomenal. I'm never going to not deep fry a turkey now. And I look forward to this meal all year long. And I was in so much pain, and there was no, and I went to the 2 different doctors to figure out what this was, and they couldn't figure it out. And I ultimately just decided to stop doing the trash can diet, and I felt better, and I've never had it.
What was the trash
can? Yeah.
You eat everything. You just eat everything all the time. And because I was trying to gain weight, I wanted to finally, I wanted to get stronger. And so like to get up,
bulk up.
Yeah, I was trying to bulk up. And what I was doing is midway through the summer, I was like way stronger than I'd ever been. And so I've only been slaloming for 3 years. So I don't have the perfect technique. My cousin's been doing it for like 20 years. He can just pop right up. For me, like I still have to get like in the right pocket to do it. And
I feel a little left out here.
It's one ski.
Ski with one ski.
Okay.
Ski with one ski, and the whole it's competitive skiing. Like you do it so that you can cut. You go back and forth. Like when they do it on competitive slalom, they go back and forth, see how far they can cut and how quickly they can do a course.
Okay. You guys are both boat guys, and me and Durang are sitting over here like, what's slalom?
No, not a boat guy.
Yeah.
Like I think they had it in the Winter Olympics, and I'm like,
I'm gonna take you out on the boat, and you'll be a boat guy.
I love boats. I just can't ski.
He goes with me.
Yeah.
You tried once. We're getting you up this year.
I tried once. He ripped my arms out of my socket. I about drowned.
Yeah, so that's what. So I got stronger, and I'm like, before I had to have the perfect technique to get, but now I'm so much stronger that I can just muscle through what I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so midway through the summer, like I feel myself starting to go sideways. My form is off, and normally I should just let go. But then the boat has to turn around. Everyone's looking at it.
Takes too long.
It takes too
Especially
long.
if Mark's driving.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot out of you. So I'm like, just muscle through it. Well, I muscled through it, and I ended up pulling my tricep, and it was black and blue all the way down, and I was done for the rest of the season.
Did it rip it off the...
I don't think I didn't quite rip it, but like
he was like, I didn't go to the doctor anyway. It's probably fine.
Yeah.
You sound like me.
It's fine.
For those of you who aren't actually watching this podcast, his tricep is eerily close to his elbow, but I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine. It feels fine. Yeah. I haven't tried getting up on skiing. So yeah, every summer I ski until I get injured.
Where do you go ski?
Lake Webster. So North Webster. That's where I'm actually getting married. That's where our lake house
Where's
is.
that at? I don't know.
Most people know Wawasee is about 15 minutes south of Wawasee.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I do know Wawasee.
There's like 100 lakes up there.
There is.
Truly.
That's the one thing that sucks about central Indiana is there's not a lot of great lakes.
And they're reservoirs.
Well, yeah, you got Geist, and then you've got
Morris.
and you drive all the way down to Monroe. I go to Raccoon Lake a lot. My family has a lake house out there, and that's a pretty good lake. But
I love it. I love all the things that you can do on the water, just being on the water. I moved to Indy back when I graduated college, and I moved to Somerset Lake Apartments at 71st and Dean, and every apartment was on this water, this pond, and waking up on that pond every day was so sweet. And it was a pond, but I loved it.
I have. So the house that I was raised in until I was about 9 years old was on a lake. Then we moved into some property, but then after I moved out of there, moved down here to Indianapolis, I've never not had at least a pond in my backyard. I love water.
Yeah.
Actually, I sent you a picture last night. We live on water now, and we've got these ducks that every year they come up, and I mean I feed them and stuff like that, but they sat around for like 2 hours with us last night. It was wonderful, and I literally sit there in my chair just staring at them, and they kind of just do their little duck thing.
So that's one side of
I love it.
Pond living. The other side is my dad, who's like, HOA, sits with a pistol and shoots the geese kind of.
Oh, I'm also that guy. I hate geese. I love ducks, but I hate geese. No, I got a thing of rocks in a milk jug, and I'll run out there with the
get away from my ducks. Geese.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most dad thing I've heard.
I'm also the dude that's like yelling at people to get off my grass and stuff like that.
That doesn't surprise me.
When does that start? I feel like that's coming for me.
Oh, I got there really quick. Yeah. Like I think I was around 31.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you
know
what? I work real hard.
That was like trying. So I was a kid. This is why I hate you. I was riding to the tennis courts, and I lived out on the west side in Chapel Glen. And I was riding down the sidewalk, and there's houses here, backyard, and then there's tennis courts right here. And I was riding like a bigger kid's bike, and like I was trying to learn how to ride a what's it? I thought I was taking a picture for you or something. I was trying to learn how to ride like a 10-speeder mountain bike or whatever, and I went off into this dude's yard, And like,
Is that like you had to stand to ride because you were so much smaller than the bike
like,
kind of thing? Yeah.
Like I moved out of there when I was in like 5th or 6th grade. So I was sometime way before that. And this kid, like older kid, probably like 20 or whatever, came chucking out and pushed me down and was like, "Get out of our yard." And I was like, "What the hell, dude?" You know what I mean? So ever since then, I was like,
I gotta
hate
try
anybody.
that. Just push a kid, just straight push a kid
man.
down.
If you're ever having a bad day and you see a kid trying to learn,
I don't need a bad day. If you ride in my yard, I don't need a bad day. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Now my somehow this topic came up not too long ago at a family event, and my aunt was like, You're I can't remember the guy's name, but you're Mr. So-and-so from the neighbor. My mom was like, oh my God, he is. I guess they had some old man that lived in their neighborhood that would yell at him about being in their grass or something.
Yeah, and then they called you that guy?
Yeah, they were like, you're just like
You're
him.
turning into
yeah,
Mr.
Yeah, which I appreciate. Thank you. And stay off my lawn. That's so funny. So fitness, you're into fitness and everything as well. You were actually talking to us about another diet that you guys, I think you named it after a friend or created, or you guys. So what was that all about? You guys all tried a bunch of diets and everything.
It's not fair because as an entrepreneur, you're known for what you come up with, what you create, and I created the diet, but my friend lost all the weight, so we name it after him. So it's called the Marcus.
Oh, that's
diet.
a bummer.
Yeah.
That would tick me right off.
Because if I
Could you imagine if that happened between us? Like we would not stand for that. Not a chance.
So if we make millions of dollars on it, but his name's on it, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, if it turns into like the Atkins diet.
Hey, if I get the check somehow, some sort of royalties, like it could be the Adam diet. That's fine. I'm good with it.
We call it the Marcus diet, and essentially what I did was I had done those challenges where you take 2 to 3 weeks and you don't cheat at all.
Yeah.
And then what typically happens, at least what I saw in my own life and my friends, is like you hate it, and by the end you can't wait to have that cheat meal, and then you just it's a downward spiral, and you end up either gaining more weight than you had before, or just like not changing any habits, and it just defeats the purpose. You just have like a rough couple of weeks while you're doing this stupid diet you don't like. So what I decided to do is like, how can I sustain it long term? And I was just like, well, let's just start with what I'm eating that I can sustain from for 5 days a week, and then I'll party too. 2 days of eating whatever you want, and 5 days of being really strict. And so we cut out sugar, wheat, and alcohol. And in a matter of a couple months, Marcus ended up losing, 45 pounds, looked great. And I didn't really have a lot of weight to lose. But
I was going to say, was he kind of a bigger guy to begin with, though?
He was bigger. He was looking to lose more than I was looking to.
Okay.
But I just wanted to be sharper. I wanted to maintain better. I wanted to feel better. So I started eating better. And I was telling Aaron before, I think a lot of people, especially in America, we've kind of been brainwashed on like what eating good looks like, eating well.
Yeah.
And it's abstaining from what you shouldn't eat, but no one hardly, really takes into account what they should be eating so that they can feel a way they want to feel later. So like no one says, hey, I'm going to eat this so that 3 hours from now I have the energy to do this and I feel like this. They think I'm hungry, this sounds good, and then they eat.
Yeah.
And if we could do that, I think we'd change it. The problem is if everyone in America would do that, a lot of people would go out of business. There would be a lot of companies that would not have a business because we've kind of brainwashed everybody into thinking that, we
haven't even just brainwashed, but even we have done that, and on top of that, the research that's been done to show that the not material, but I'll say that material that they put in some food, where it literally connects to your body's endorphins and essentially creates a what's your frontal cortex produce that.
This is a part of the podcast where people are screaming at their cars.
Yeah. It's not endorphins, whatever, but it's an addictive chemical. So now your body becomes like, oh, where is that? We haven't had that. And you literally get addicted to the chemical dopamine. That's exactly. Thank you.
You're
very
welcome,
much.
people in the cars.
Yeah.
That was
by the way, hey, Durango, can you go get that bag of corn chips real quick out of the break room for me?
He's scratching, by the way.
Yeah, that wasn't even on purpose. Oh my God, I have a problem. Wait, is that what this is about? Are you guys here to talk to me about my chip addiction?
Yeah. All right. This is what we've called you here today.
Yeah, eating for
So
the
the
way
book-
that you want to feel later. That's
And I don't know that this
Interesting.
concept was in this book, but like everyone's got a book. Everyone who was not in shape that is in shape now, or wasn't eating well that is eating better now, probably read something or finally just decided. For me, that book was Wheat Belly. And it's got a bunch of bagels. They got a bunch of they call them bagel butt, wheat belly. They have all these terminology for basically wheat gluten and what it's doing, and it's basically in everything that's processed. Everything that's processed has wheat gluten in it.
Yeah.
And just like people who don't even have celiac disease or anything like that are just it's not 100%. It's not the same bread that they were making in the 50s and 60s. It's not your.
so that's what I was going to
bread.
ask you. I don't know how much research you've done on this, but yeah, you hear about all these
the
people
book.
with gluten allergies and all that kind of stuff now. So is that what it is? Like it's the chemical makeup of food has changed.
Essentially, and I can't remember if this particular part was in the book or just research I did afterwards. But in order to mass produce what you have in some of these products, right? Twinkies, Cheez-Its. I love Cheez-Its, but even
Oh my
Cheez-Its
gosh, those are delicious.
especially traveling. Like you know how you you associate foods with travel. Like that's been the Coke was for me. Like I associate it with so many different meals. So like I have to have a Coke with a Five Guys burger. I have to have a Coke with pizza. So then like you're talking about the compound effect. Like if you're having pizza, it just spirals because you have to drink and eat, and maybe you're the guy that has to have ice cream after you eat pizza.
Yeah. So it's actually, you say the 50s and 60s. Like I did a science fair experiment, like third grade, where I put different breads in different parts of the house and how quickly they molded or whatever like that.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
And so it's funny because it didn't take that long, like a couple days, right?
Nothing molds anymore.
I found a loaf of bread that was this is like a month old, and I looked at it and was like, fine. And I'm like, and it was in a dark cabinet in the
That can't be
corner.
good.
I was like, dude, this is sketchy, man. What is this made of? Because that's not the same science fair bread I used 20 something years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy when the kids were little, we'd find like a chicken nugget or a cheeseburger like in the back of the van or something that you knew had been there for ever.
Yeah.
And it looked the same as it did the day you bought it.
And that's what we're putting in our bodies.
That can't be healthy.
Yeah. If there's a bag of chips, he still ate it though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, I still ate the chicken nugget too, and it tasted fine.
Nachos is my thing. I eat nachos everywhere I go. 2 or 3 times a week, maybe more. It's nachos.
I was going to say, you give me some Cheez-Its and a Dr. Pepper, I'll drive you to Florida in 15 hours. Miami, no problem.
Yeah, everybody, you hear that? That's how it goes. Travel just got a lot cheaper.
Cheapest Uber I ever had.
Yeah. What are the kind of things you like? You work out? Are you mostly? I tend to find people are either on like the food side or the diet side of wellness or the workout side, and and I say that there's people that kind of manage a little bit of both, but typically we lean one way or the other. So are you more of the eat right, live right guy, or are you more of the gym guy?
No, the gym has always been more of a passion. I've eating right has only been recent.
Okay.
But working out, love working out, love being active. I saw a video, and here's the thing: I'm gonna quote this video, and I haven't done any research to know if this is true or not, but it made me feel really good, so I'm gonna say it. This guy said you can take 2 guys, and one could be in the best shape ever, eats well, does everything, sleeps well, but does not work out, does not exercise, and you take an obese guy who's not in the best shape of his life, but he works out every single day. Now, granted, that guy's going to eventually get into shape, but he is way more likely to live longer, is just by being active and exercising every single day. Now, again, I don't know the validity of it, but it stands to reason. You think about it and you're like, yeah, that's the way we were created, is to be active. And so,
For sure.
Everyone who's depressed, you ask them what they do all day, they sit in front of screens, they sit in cubicles and everything like that. So yeah, being active. And I've got extra incentive, 2 weeks from now getting married. So gotta
Sure, that tux fits right.
Yeah, that's right. But no, I really enjoy. I think it should be everyone's passion. I really do. I think everyone should be passionate about taking care of their bodies, whether that's lifting or running or but I think everyone should have a passion for their temple.
Something active. And I'll tell you, it does make you feel better. Like even if you don't want to do it, and I've been sitting in that parking lot. Like, damn it, I don't want to. Like I've wrestled with it for 5 minutes before.
But eventually you do it enough, you don't have that anymore.
But
it's just like you do it.
Well,
and you always feel good when you're walking out.
That's the key. Like, so yeah, like you wrestle with sometimes everybody's got bad days where you're like, you don't want to go and this and that. But then you get in there, and the days that I don't want to go in, I end up normally crushing it the hardest because I didn't want to.
Because you're so ticked off about even being there.
And then at the end, I feel absolutely awesome, and I'm so happy I did it.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Actually, the other day, I fell for it, and I clicked the link to the dude. I feel like he's on every form of social media. The guy's just completely, I have no idea what his name is. Again, people in the car, you're probably going to yell this here in a second, but the guy is like just completely jacked and ripped, and he's like, want to lose weight without cardio ever again in your entire life? You know the guy that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so I was like,
oh,
he's
yeah,
a marketing genius, though.
That's where I was
he's
going
like
with
there's 5 different body types.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about.
So I clicked on it. He is a marketing genius, and he's like, I'll show you the 3 steps real quick or whatever. I'm like an hour and 15 minutes into this video, and I'm like, this guy has sold me like 7 different products, and we haven't even got to step 3 yet. What is going on? But no, some of the stuff that he had in there was actually pretty interesting.
Did you buy anything?
No, I didn't buy anything. Get out of here.
Pathetic.
Get out of here. No, I bought into the concepts that he's talking about. So like one of the things that he's talking about that I've actually been employing is TUT, T-U-T, time under tension is the key. So you can, he said, it's not about how much weight you can actually throw around as far as actually toning your muscles very quickly. It's how much time do you have under tension. So if you're doing bicep curls, for example, instead of just going at your regular pace, go down a little bit and wait. And literally, he said to have that muscle up and down for like 40 seconds. So 20 seconds up, 20 seconds down.
It burns.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big realization for me because there was guys twice my size in the gym, and I would lift right after them, and I would see what they were doing like on a cable machine, and I'd be like, man, I can do twice that much. And then I'd look at them, and then I'd start to think about it, like, what's going on? Like, what do I not know? And then I started watching, and I was like, oh, they don't care about like, not every exercise is built to be like lifting as much as you can lift.
Look at the numbers on mine.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And then I guarantee they're like their 1 rep max is probably 30 times yours. I was going to say mine, but of course.
That's impossible.
When I go to the gym, I use all the weights.
Yeah,
yes.
It's all of them. No, actually, it's funny. I've been with a couple guys that like. I work with. There's a guy named Matt Stumpo. He's a fireman, and I've worked out with him a few times, and I just feel like a bit of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just.
It's
like,
good to have people like that.
I know it does.
It is motivation,
and it pushes you though, because he's like, well, like when it's my turn, like he'll just pop a little bit of weight off, and I'm like, bro, come on, dude, trying to kill me here. You know what I mean? But like when I lifted, when I did chest with him last time, it was like the most I ever lifted because I had to. I didn't have a choice. He was like, no, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's cool.
But no, that's cool. So.
That's pretty neat.
What is there any new projects that you're working on? Anything interesting going on? Or are you just trying to focus on getting your wedding over? I didn't mean to say it that way. If you're watching, I did not mean to say it
Enjoying
that
the
way.
best moment of his life up until children. Yes.
So my wife tells me I say dumb shit all the time, and I will admit that I do, and I apologize.
I don't know why.
No,
I don't know why Whitney would tell you that.
Honestly, like the wedding planning to be over would be really nice. The wedding itself, I'm really looking forward to.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
We had a big party, man. We were like, we told everybody like, hey, we're gonna smash out this
and
ceremony
we're actually doing the
real quick.
whole weekend. Like,
nice.
It's at the lake house, so people are coming back the next day and Sunday, and we're just gonna make a whole weekend out of it. Celebration.
So you're having a bigger party, man.
It's like The Godfather.
Yeah.
You know, it just lasts for days.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So if I come, you can't refuse.
Hey,
What was it?
open invitation.
Can't refuse a question or whatever, a request. Cool, man.
But yeah, projects. I don't know. I'm always thinking about the next thing. I know the term serial entrepreneur is thrown around a lot, but I totally resonate with that because I think striving for something new, striving for greatness is admirable, and I think so few of us actually live up to our potential, and that's sad to me. And I want to help other people realize the potential. So I've recently just been trying to figure out what products or services can help more people in an increasingly chaotic. We haven't really talked about, I don't know if you guys get into politics on your podcast, and probably is not a good time to start since we're ending the podcast now. But for me, schools is a big passion that I have not yet done anything with, that I just want to. I think that, especially like if you just look at college program, like I graduated with $50,000 in debt, didn't use the piece of paper that said I was good at school, because I wasn't good at school, and it didn't matter because I ended up going into sales. And I think there's a lot of people who've bought into the American dream of college, and
it's shifting so quickly,
very quickly.
It needs to, because we have so many kids graduating debt, so many kids confused when they get into it, and they're just. What's crazy to me is like I can go with a business plan and say, "Hey, can you give me money to execute this business plan?" And they're likely to say no. Then they go to this 18-year-old kid who says, I have no plan. Can you give me $30,000 a year? And they're like, yes. And then we're going to lock you in. And it's messed up.
It's crazy.
At massive rates. And actually, that's what I was getting ready to say. The same exact thing you said. I think that's wild. Like, people can't get small business loans. It's hard to. But they'll give kids that are like...
120 grand.
Yeah, me at 18, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yep.
Don't give me 120 grand.
And as a business owner, we actually, I was just talking about this yesterday in an interview with a candidate that we had for a director level position, where, you know, from a cultural perspective, I would much rather hire a high school graduate that's an amazing culture fit for our business, that has some tenacity about them, that has a vision and a goal for themselves, than probably 90% of college graduates that are out there that are just still, you know, used to living in mom and dad's basement.
Yeah, because they get jaded too. And what's going on in the schools now, like it's just, you get jaded and you get used to, at least I know I did, cheating the system more than just learning.
Yeah.
Like I learned how to get an A by like manipulation.
Yeah.
Instead of just learning the material and I, like I told you, like I've become a much better student in my 20s and 30s, reading YouTube University, like for writing, sure. Like I'm a way better student now than I was in college.
I think
good.
I think that makes a difference too, in general, because I actually had this conversation with somebody the other day. Me, Adam, a lot of people, like we're lifelong learners, right? Like we try to continually listen to podcasts and whatever it is, read books, you know, anything that is, just have conversations with people. There are people that go through and get a college degree and then stop learning.
Yeah.
And well, now it's 20 years later, half that shit's changed. You know what I mean? So you have to, no matter whether you went to college or didn't, I feel like you need to always be a lifetime learner, because things are especially evolving at the rate of technology and the things are going now. Like it is changing. The world is different every year.
I'm actually concerned about, again, as a business owner, I'm concerned about hiring in the future, because is the piece of paper, that degree printed on, even worth its weight in ink with ChatGPT and everything that's coming about? Like, did you really get that? Or to your point, did you just learn how to get a passing grade? Like
that's almost a skill though, like learning how to manipulate.
Yeah.
It is. I definitely learned more about sales in for college than, you know, I literally sold my teachers on passing me, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, there is the 10 to 20% of, you know, doctors, lawyers that, you know, you have to be educated, you have to be
engineers.
Someone else has to tell you you're ready to do something. But, you know, I really feel like 70 to 80% of us need to do something different. Like there needs to be an alternative. We need to have more I mean, you guys know this better, but we need more trade schools. We need more apprenticeships. We need more electricians and plumbers. Like, and it's going the direction of it being so scarce that you're going to have to pay a plumber $50, $60 an hour, $70 an hour. And it's going to be a good living because no one wants to do it. And there's kids out there that need to be told that, hey, it's okay to be a plumber. And it's actually freaking awesome. Yeah. And you're going to love it. And you're going to provide a family. You're going to provide for your family the rest of your life. And you're going to feel fulfilled. And no one's telling them that. They're saying, go to school. That's it. Yep. That's what they're saying. Go to school.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I think I had a conversation a month or two ago with my oldest daughter. It's 16. She'll be a junior this year. I was like, I want her to go to college, like, but I think it's almost more about relationships at this point.
Community.
Yeah, and like obviously, again, to your point, if there's a specified field, doctors, lawyers, engineers, like something that requires that, but like just a bachelor's of science.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
think it's still crazy. Hey, one thing I wanted to go back. I know we're running short on time, but one thing I wanted to go back on and just get your take. So you enjoy writing. This is something Aaron and I have actually been talking a little bit about it, just from a different perspective and some of the, I won't say research, but that's a heavy word for our conversation that we've been having and just things that we've been learning about how important and significant it is to write, get your thoughts down on paper and all that kind of stuff. When you write, what are you writing about?
So I find inspiration in almost every moment that you wouldn't think. So like even when I'm watching movies or driving or just watching one little interaction happening, I'll literally take a note of that thing. And typically when I'm writing, sitting down to write a publisher's note or a piece that I want to inspire people, it's typically taking a life lesson that I learned and turning it into a teaching moment for someone who's in business specifically, but really anyone in their life.
sorry about that, guys. Hey, Durango, that's the last time I spilled water all over myself. This time I threw a coaster.
You're a liability in this.
Yeah, I know, dude. I know.
No, I think that's really cool. I think that's the more fast paced our world gets because of technology, and then the more that the interaction becomes from a human to a screen, whether that's gaming or computers or social media or whatever the case, like we're losing this art. When you think of, my wife and I, not last year, but the year before, went to the Biltmore, which is an amazing experience to go on. But, this guy who became incredibly wealthy and built to this day, still the largest home in the United States of America. He was 28 years old when he started building this. Yes, it is still to this day. It's incredible. Wow. And, one of the the things that I found super interesting is you learn about the history of Vanderbilt. I can't remember his last name or his first name, but was that he was fluent in multiple languages. And you look at his library, and actually his library is still there when you tour the house. Like the amount of books that he has is just absolutely incredible. And I think it was like 6 languages or something. Like it was ridiculous. But then also a quarter of the books that he had were actually just journals, journals that he had written. I find that incredibly important in becoming a lost art of people actually taking time to think and reflect on a day, even like, hey, what went well, what went bad, how can I learn from this moment? And I think we kind of do it automatically, ourselves, but what better to do? Because I also know that research has proven, we've talked about this in the past, that your brain recognizes your own handwriting better than any other language on the planet. So when you write those things down, it actually cements it into your mind anyways.
Yeah. There's also, there's a link to memory. When you put the pen to paper, there's a link to memory. Right. So that's, that faith journals is what I've recently started with myself, and I do it in the morning, and my girls are watching me. And now like my 6-year-old asked for a journal and she's writing. And I think that, I have a list of 10 questions. My brother-in-law, Brett, who's still in Cutco, by the way, full recall, told me he was doing this, and I started doing it. And I have questions, like, because sometimes I think people sit down and like, what do I write? So then I have these preloaded questions that I just answer, and then I get going and I start writing, and it's about my day. It's about relying, for me, relying on the Lord, and how am I going to like set aside all this noise. And then I start going, and I don't stop. And if you stop and you want to keep going, you ask yourself another question.
That's really cool. Would you mind sharing those questions with us?
If I like now?
Oh, you can send them to us, and we'll put them on in the comment section or something. Yeah, but I would like to have them for myself personally.
Yeah, definitely. One that I think I did this morning or yesterday was like, what would create the biggest win for you today? It's like a version of a question that I would ask.
Yeah. Amazing things happen when you take time to just think about. I'm a big top 3. Like every morning I come in, either on a Post-it note or on the whiteboard in my office. Like, what are the top 3 things that I need to get done? And I'll do it like even at a quarterly level for our business. Like, what are the big things that we've got to get done?
Sure.
And so that's a little bit of a version of that. But just taking time to reflect on how am I driving my life versus letting my life drive me.
Yep. And if you run out of content for that and you're still wanting to go, then you start thinking about how that applies to people. So like I've got 3 girls. Now you take that question, what would create the biggest win for Charlie today? What would create the biggest win for Haven today? What would create the biggest win for Piper today? And it's different because the kids are different. And then you start relying, like I tell people this all the time, if you're having a bad day, Not all the time. Sometimes people really experience things that are out of their control, but a lot of times it's just you being selfish. You're focused on yourself. So what's the best way to get out of that mode is you start praying for other people and you start writing them handwritten notes. And then pretty soon you write your 5th handwritten note. You're not thinking about your day. You're thinking about the 5 people that you've loved on, that you're reaching out to. And now you're not having a bad day. Guess what? You're having a pretty good day.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I like that.
There's no better place to end this discussion than right there and to let everyone think on that for a little bit. Remington, thanks so much for joining us in this conversation today.
I love you guys set up. This is a good show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Again, thank you for listening, tuning in, watching, however you're hearing this podcast right now. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Tune in next time to see what I throw or drop.
Yeah, exactly. But no, we really appreciate you. Throw some notes in the comments. What did you think about this? What are you journaling? What are you writing on? And what can we grow from as well? We always want to make sure that we talk about that. But until we meet again next time.
Yeah, I want to know what questions, since we're talking about it here, what other questions you guys ask yourself if you do this same thing. So throw that out there. What questions maybe something that we can use.
Perfect. All right. Have a great one, everyone.